Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm Gal, an artist and a scientist.
And I'm Leslie, a designer and researcher, and together we create artwork that's motivated by a deep fascination with human-animal interactions. Our work invites participants to explore the dynamic relationship between nature, culture, and human environments. We do it by creating intimate experiences of discovery that engage broad audiences and create space for examining the world through a non-human lens. While technology is often used to shield us from nature, we utilize it to bring people closer and to enhance the feeling of being present. Our goal is to raise questions about our ecological role and responsibility as the dominant species on this planet.
In our current project, we're investigating the blur boundaries between human and wild habitats. We designed cities as the perfect human environment, but fail to acknowledge that we share this planet. The easiest way to grasp the city as a mutual habitat is to listen to it. When we think of urban nature, what stands out the most for us is the sound of birds. This is a very common sound of birds, and it's the sound of a bird crashing into a window, and it happens more than you might think. In the US alone, about 1 billion birds die each year from glass collisions. That's around 32 birds every second.
This number is devastating and resulting in increasingly silent springs. North America has lost close to 1/3 of its bird populations over the past 50 years, and glass collisions are a significant contributor to this disturbing decline. So why didn't we know? When we reached out to organizations that care about this issue, they told us that they have trouble getting the word out. So we see this as an opportunity to use art as a means to engage a broader public in this issue in a way that's memorable and can inspire positive action. We're doing this by creating site-specific urban interventions that we're currently in the process of researching and developing. Our intervention builds on 3 components, the first of which is integrating audio-visual layers onto existing windows to tell the story of the life and death of birds in the city.
With the site-specific nature of our piece, we augment ghostly birds onto the built environment. The animations and sounds you're hearing are of real birds colliding with glass. We're using exciter speakers to transform the window itself to a speaker. And if you touch the glass, you can really feel the impact's vibrations. We see this as an opportunity to talk about the different causes of collision, ecological traps, and to dispel misconceptions about the nature of this problem. As New Yorkers, we would like to host our first intervention in our city and are working with organizations like New York City Audubon, who collect the bodies of birds who die heating glass. We scan these birds to reanimate them into our deadly loop in our site-specific art installations.
The second component of our piece is a UV mural that plays on the idea of unseen worlds for each species, glass for birds and UV for humans. Coexisting on the same windows as our collision animations is a UV mural that strikes a more hopeful tone. We invite visitors to explore these windows through the beam of a blacklight flashlight, which reveals an unseen layer on top of the cityscape outside. The imagery reimagines the city as a symbiotic paradise filled with plants, insects, mates, and roosts. The effect is a temporary glimmer at a possible future biophilic city. It's also a very tangible deterrent against birds colliding with glass. The mural is for their eyes too. In addition to our mural, we imagine inviting visitors to draw on these windows themselves, adding bird positive messages or drawings. For us, this would be the ultimate success, to engage people in a fun activity that takes them out of themselves for a moment to refocus on a relationship with non-human creatures and the outside world. So lastly, we're also prototyping an at-home version of our experience to encourage people to consider how their own homes might become more mutually beneficial to other creatures. This kit contains a UV ink pen, small UV flashlight, and a link to our online guided audio experience.
As we continue to develop this project, we're looking to connect with urban ecologists, ornithologists, and other interested in reimagining cities as a mutual habitat. We're also looking for windows to exhibit our work, either windows of problematic glass buildings or organizations who want to bring attention to this issue. We would also like to partner with organizations who care to engage the general public with complex scientific themes through art. And lastly, we're looking to secure funding that will help us expand and develop this project further. We're strong believers of collaborations and conversations, and we would love to stay in touch. You can reach us at the contact info in the chat, and thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for sharing through that. I suppose on a positive note, is there something, that number just absolutely shocked me when you said of how many bird deaths a year due to hitting into glass, but is there anything we can do to stop that, like to bring that number down? Like, I suppose if people are going to the exhibition, like what's their takeaway message, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. There's a lot of work that's being done in this space. For example, ABC Birds, American Bird Conservancy, has published a whole site about materials that you can apply to the built environment that have, they rate them by their sort of efficiency of preventing this issue. I think it's also because the built environment is so multifaceted, the solution is multifaceted, which makes it hard to, you know, people always want like a really simple answer. But I think for us in our installation, we are wanting to create these kits that people can take home and sort of inspire conversation, maybe with the folks that they live with, and yeah, and then to point them as well back to these resources that are out there.
I have a super nerdy technical question. So you said something, they hit the glass and then you record the reverberations and play it through an amplifier. So it's like an electric guitar.
So what happens is that we're using exciter speakers and they make the window itself into the diaphragm. So it vibrates and it transmits the sound through the actual glass.
So without an amplifier?
We're using an amplifier as well, but that, like, the whole system together is it makes your window into a gigantic speaker. So if so that's something that
that's kind of the principle of an electric guitar. It rings a little bit, you can't really hear it. It doesn't ring the air enough, and you amplify it electromagnetically. And just as an aside, that's also how the black hole discoveries worked. When they recorded the sound of two black holes colliding, creates a ringing in space-time, which could be your window. Mm-hmm. It washes over the earth, it's imperceptible to the human ear, and they record it and play it back through an amplifier system. So it's basically, it's a very basic but brilliant technology. So I also wondered, have you ever heard of the Wild Bird Fund?
Of course, yeah. Yes. We've been talking with them a lot. We met with their
Michelle, a
lot of people, with Rita and Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I've shuffled a few birds in there all the time. Also, it's interesting, just in general, the bird species in New York City is still pretty exciting and impressive. You know, there are eagles and there are hawks and there are strange animals that nest in apartment buildings on the Upper West. It's really quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I actually have two blue jays that live just right outside I'm kind of somewhat close to Prospect Park, and I didn't know that that blue jays live there, and I guess they do, and I always see them. It's makes my day every time.
My flat in Harlem, we had a hawk who kept trying to make a nest on our fire escape.
Oh, that's terrifying. Thank you, Gal and Leslie, so much. That was really beautiful, and so looking forward to hear more. Just to move us along, because I know we're a little bit behind. Our next presenters are Shuyi Kao and Romina Greenfield.